I think there's too many stories that aren't being told by startups because they just aren't equipped to write these pitches. They aren't prepared to think about the stories that could be told. I work with clients to do this all the time to secure local and national press. I want to highlight a win that we had with one of our clients last week. So let me tell you what went down. We worked with our clients Yardstik, who recently moved their headquarters from an office park in Edina to the heart of downtown Minneapolis in a really beautiful space. And we knew that this was an opportunity to get some local press around the move, around Yardstik and the team and what's happening with their growth story. So we worked together to build this pitch, and we moved through this process really quickly. We had the pitch written and approved on a Friday afternoon. By Monday morning, we sent the pitch out to a couple journalists that we believed would be interested in the story, and it was picked up. And a couple days later, the CEO of Yardstik was interviewed, and we had the published piece by Wednesday evening. So it was a really quick turnaround, a really nice piece that ultimately got published in Twin Cities Business. I'll flash the article here for a second so you can see what it looks like. But I wanted to just talk about this case study, the success, because I think there's too many stories that aren't being told by startups because they just aren't equipped to write these pitches. They aren't prepared to think about the stories that could be told. I work with clients to do this all the time to secure local and national press that helps them get the word out about their companies. And we do this for a number of reasons. Sometimes it's because they're trying to recruit more employees. Sometimes they're trying to attract new investors or partners. Other times they just want more people to understand what their product is, what they're doing, and start using it. I'm going to tell you a secret that most traditional PR agencies don't want you to know, and that is you can secure your own press, your own stories locally or nationally just by sending your own outreach emails. A lot of the startups that I work with, they are not prepared to outsource to a PR agency. It can be really expensive. Most agencies want you to work on like 6-month to 12-month contracts, and most startups are just not prepared to invest that type of money, pull that money from their marketing budget for PR, which, as we know, can have iffy ROI depending on what you're doing and who you're working with. So I want to walk through the process of how I work with startups to build pitches that they ultimately can send to journalists themselves. So I have 7 components of the pitch that will help you write it from beginning to end, and then a couple tips at the very end. Let's go through it right now. If you have any questions on any of these, let me know in the comments, but just wanted to share this with you. It worked for Yardstik. They ended up getting more press after the initial article went live, so really successful for them, allowed them to use the piece as an opportunity to build more energy around their company, help with recruiting efforts, and build excitement around their new move, their new home in downtown Minneapolis. Okay, so here are the 7 elements that you need when you're putting your pitch together for journalists. The first thing that I like to do is I like to write the subject line as if it was a news headline. Your job when you're writing these pitches is to make the journalist's job easier. So right off the bat, before they even open the email, I want them to understand what the headline of the story is. In the case of Yardstik, the headline that we used was Yardstik moves HQ to downtown Minneapolis. Super short, easy to understand, but probably intriguing enough for a journalist to open it up and understand why they decided to move to downtown Minneapolis. The second thing that you need to do is make your ask at the beginning, not the end. I have worked on getting better at this for the last 10 years of being involved in pitches and PR campaigns, and what I used to do early on in my career was try to give the journalist as much context as I possibly could in the email and then save the ask for the very bottom. And I think a lot of emails are written like this. A lot of sales emails are written like this. You want as much information as you can in the beginning of the email, and then right before you sign off, you want to make that ask. I would actually flip it, and it's worked really well for me helping startups do this. So what I like to do is I'll write a sentence in the beginning that will, introduce the idea for the story, but then I want to follow up very quickly with the call to action or the ask. And so with Yardstik, the ask was, are you interested in talking to their CEO about why they decided to make this move from Edina to downtown Minneapolis? He's available, he has perspectives to share. And that I think is really helpful for journalists. They're getting pitched all the time. They might not have time to read the paragraphs, even though you think they're important, even though the context is really helpful. You need to just understand that if they only read the first 3 sentences of your pitch, you have to give them enough information to know what to do. The third thing that I like to do with pitches is I like to make it easy for the journalist to understand what makes it timely or newsworthy. In the case of Yardstik, it was timely because they had just moved within the last week to their new space. And also there was a bigger story that we believed existed around just the move to downtown Minneapolis in general. If you're from the area or you're from any big city like Minneapolis, you know that the pandemic kind of pushed people outside of the downtown area for a while. People started working remotely more. Offices reduced the size of their spaces that they had, but if you've been downtown lately, you'll know that it's definitely being revitalized. More teams have come back. We wanted to help them understand that there was a story that they could tell, a bigger community story outside of just what Yardstik was doing for their team and for their employees. Number 4 is you want to offer up a voice who has clear perspectives that they can share. This is ultimately the subject that you believe the journalists should focus their story around. And for Yardstik, obviously it was their CEO. We wanted the journalists to understand that their CEO was available to do an interview, and we also teased a couple of perspectives that we knew he had around the move. Why did they make the move? Why did they feel it was important? Why was downtown Minneapolis the right area for them now? And what is it ultimately going to enable them to do as a business and as a team? The 5th element is you need to give them pieces of the story to work with. So obviously a journalist is going to build a story that they want to build, but the more that you can do, again, to make their job easier, start laying out the elements of the story, you know, how you think it would flow, what it would look like, why it's important to the community. The easier it's going to be for them to understand, yes, this is a story that we want to write, unpack, explore a little bit more, and ultimately deliver to our readers. Number 6, you want to leave them wanting to explore more. So you can give them a lot of pieces to the story, but you want to make it interesting enough that they want to respond, that they want to have that interview with the person that you're offering up to them. There's more to the story that they can uncover themselves as journalists. You want to make it easy and enticing for them to want to reach out and schedule that interview. And then number 7 is end with credibility facts. So with Yardstik, they have a lot of great things that have been happening over the last year or so. They've grown their customer base by 300%. They've raised another $12 million round. They're adding more employees to their team. There's a lot of energy happening around their business right now. And so we put all that in the very bottom of the email just to make it clear that this is a company that is worth knowing about and reading about. Sometimes I think people put that at the very beginning of an email, but again, I think you want to make sure that that call to action is clear right away and add the context later after that. Okay, those are the 7 pieces that I wanted to talk about. I want to wrap by just giving you a couple additional tips that I think help with pitches based on the experience that I've had. So number 1, no attachments. I think, you know, the way that pitches used to happen is you would attach a PDF of a press release and you would just expect that journalists are going to download that and read through it, and it just doesn't happen. I think pitches need to be more conversational, more human, so I would not attach press releases to the pitch emails that you're sending. Number 2 is to keep it short, 4 to 5 sentences, nothing more than that. You can always add more context. They can ask for more context if they want, but you've got to make it really tight and easy for a journalist to understand what the potential story is. Another tip is just to make it about them, their story, and their audience, and not about you. This is really hard when you're thinking about press because you want to talk all about yourself, but what I like to do is I like to put myself in the journalist's shoes and really understand why would this story be interesting for them, for their readers, why would they want to write it, why would they want to attach their names onto it. And I believe if you can think like that and you can frame up your email like that, you're going to have a lot more success. All right, those are my tips for you on PR for startups. I hope they helped. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, have a great day.